Welcome to my channel, or welcome back. I'm Maggie Ostara, and I'm delighted that you're here. And this is the third in a series of videos about openness and definition and conditioning and deconditioning in the human design system. And today we're going to dive into how do we know what we know? This is a very heavily conditioned area in our world and in our own psyches. So we want to unpack this a bit. And the place that we look for that in the human design system is in the head center. So we're going to go ahead and dive into that right now. Let's get started. The head center in human design, it's illustrated as a triangle that actually comes down into the head, but it doesn't. It actually sits on top of the head. We'll dig into that more in just a minute. So it's the center for inspiration, for our connection with source, right? Because each one of the three gates that are there are all connected into super consciousness. It's where we interface with that creative intelligence of the universe in three different distinct ways. And it's how we start to understand what we know and how we know what we know. So we're going to really dig into that today. It's a place for possibilities, for potentials. It's expansive. It's really open. And the head center is similar to the crown chakra and actually also the Ajna chakra. So the crown chakra sits literally on top of the head. It's not in the head, it's on top. So it's actually right above the head, and it kind of reaches out this way. And I think the head center in human design is similar. And the Ajna chakra in the chakra system is more similar to the head center than it is to the Ajna center in human design. The Ajna center is very different in human design. It's really where we process, and it's the analytical mind is the Ajna in human design. So the head center in human design is doing a lot of extra duty because it's kind of doing the duty of that chakra, the crown chakra, but then also of the Ajna chakra. So for those of you who know the chakra system, just think of the head as kind of the combination of the two, because it does include like where the pineal gland is. It does include our connection to superconsciousness. And in the chakra system, we call the Ajna chakra really the command center, because we're working with our endocrine system there, and we're working with our neurotransmitters, and it's part of what enables us to connect into the all that is in the chakra system, right? Well, that's what we do with the head center in human design. So don't get confused. Just realize that each system has its own logic, and each one is valid and real and in its own way. But to know that if you're used to working with the center of the head as the Ajna center, which is the Ajna chakra, that is more related to the head center than it is to the Ajna center in human design. Okay, having said that, let's dig into the specifics of the head center according to human design. So in the human design system, every aspect can be either open or defined. If it's white in your chart, that means it's open. If it's colored in, that means it's defined. And if it's defined, it means that you have an ongoing, ready, reliable access to that energy and a consistent way of experiencing it. And if it's open or white in your chart, it means that yes, you do have this center. Yes, you do have this aspect of the human design system. You have the entire chart in your own energy field. It's just that the way you experience it will vary depending on who you've been around and what your life experience has been like. So let's talk first about the defined head center. When the head center is defined, it means that you have a consistent way of experiencing it. Now, in order for the head center to get defined, it means one of the three channels that run across the head center and connected to the Ajna is going to be defined. So given that means that one or more of these three gates that go across here and the channels that go across here are going to be defined as well. And so when you are looking at, well, what's the quality of my defined head center? You want to pull out your chart and you want to see which one of these are lit up for you. Chances are yours is white. because only about 10%, 8 to 10% of people have a defined head in the human design system. And the reason for that is there's only 3 gates. There's only 3 channels. Statistically, it is the center that is least likely to get defined. So chances are yours is open, and if you may be one of the lucky ones that has it defined. But go ahead and take a look at your chart and see which one of the gates or which one of the channels is lit up if you have it defined. And you may also have one or more of those centers defined, but not have the channels, and so the whole head isn't defined. So, for example, I just have the gate 61, which is right here. That's colored in on my chart, but I don't have the head center colored in. So you can go and take a look at your own chart. We're going to go through each of the gates and each of the channels, and so you'll get to see what is true for you in your chart as we go through there to be more specific. But in general, the defined head center is going to have a fairly consistent way of experiencing itself. And like all aspects of the human design system and really of life, there can be at least 3 possible expressions. I talked about the possible expressions quite extensively in the second video in this series, so you can go ahead and check that out if you want to get a little bit more in depth about that. And let me just say here that there are 3 major ways of experiencing these different qualities of energy. So one is the disempowered expression, which is where we've either rejected it, or we just feel really separate from it, or we feel subordinated to it. Or the shadow expression, which is where we use the energy to try to gain power or to manipulate or control a situation in order to feel more safe a lot of times. Sometimes it comes across as aggressive, but it's really coming from a desire to feel more safe. And then the more awakened and empowered expression, which is where we really already have power within, so we're not needing to try to grasp any power from outside, and we're able to actually embody the highest expression, the most awakened expression of that particular energy. So for the defined head center, it has a tendency it can get a little rigid in its way of seeing things. So the defined head center is going to have a pretty consistent way of experiencing inspiration or possibility or downloads that it's receiving, or the interface with the all that is. Okay, and it can, if it's in its disempowered expression, it can be like, I don't really believe in spirit. I don't have anything to do with that. Nah, it's not my kind of thing. No. Right? So it's not willing to receive what's coming in. And so it kind of blocks that out, and that makes it disempowered. Another thing that can happen is it can get into really negative thinking. It can have a negative belief system. It can have negative programs that are running. And so it's just in a kind of negative way of perceiving the world, and it can get stuck there. It can also be kind of rigid, because whenever you have definition, there can be a tendency towards rigidity. If something gets really consistent, you get, especially if you get attached to it, and you're like, "This is the way it is," and then then you can get something that's really pretty solid. And then the shadow expression is going to be when somebody is using their insights that they're receiving in order to try to manipulate or control a situation. Now, I'm not saying that people are consciously really trying to subordinate others. It's possible, but a lot of times this kind of thing happens unconsciously as well. And so it may be that it's about asserting, that the downloads that you're getting are more important than those of other people. Or if you're somebody who channels and you get a lot of information, but then you use that to try to say, well, I know what's really going to happen. My predictions are really accurate. Don't listen to the other ones, that kind of thing, right? You use it to build up your own reputation, or you build it to try to get people to believe in you and that kind of thing. So that's kind of a negative or shadow aspect. And then the awakened is where you're in a state of possibility on a regular basis, where you're open to inspiration, you're open to insights, you're open to what the spiritual information wants to come in. You're open to angels and guides and whoever you might work with, whether that's Mother Mary or Kuan Yin or a Bodhisattva or Buddha or Jesus, whoever it is that you feel like you really connect to and you receive guidance from this kind of being in non-physical. So, or it could just be simply the universe. It could be spirit or source in general. When you're in that awakened expression, you're really open and you're not trying to gain power and you're not feeling disempowered. You're feeling empowered from the inside and you're feeling empowered through your relationship with the all that is. Now, the open head center is going to have a variable way of experiencing all of these different energies. Just to underscore that you have experienced all of these energies hundreds, thousands of times during the course of your life, because you can come around different people and you get your head centers defined, or you come around somebody with a defined head center. So you're going to have experienced this many times during the course of your life, but it's going to have felt differently depending on who you've been around. Now, a disempowered expression of that open head can be scatteredness, can just be feeling like, oh gosh, there's things come in, they come in, they come out. I can't keep track of them. It's kind of like, whoa, what's happening? Things are flying around and you don't quite know how to harness them, right? You feel a little bit at the mercy of these energies that are coming in. Or you could not trust what's coming in. You could not trust the intuition. You can not trust the insights. You can be suspicious, or you can be in doubt, or you can have just decided, no, I don't believe in any of that stuff. So even though it's open, you can really kind of block things that would be coming in through the way that you are rejecting really what's possible for you to receive here because you don't believe it. So the shadow expression of the open head could be a constant state of questioning, for example. Like if other people are coming up with ideas, or they're sharing insights, or they're sharing new potentials or whatever, would be to really question that, to undermine it, to be saying, I don't believe that. Where did you get that from? I'm not getting that. So where are you getting that? And again, it's kind of trying to control or manipulate a situation in order to feel more safe oneself. And so a lot of times it comes across as being aggressive towards others because it's like trying to undermine them in order to gain more power for oneself. But then the awakened expression, right, the really empowered expression of that open head is to be very receptive to what's coming in, but also to have some command over what you're allowing in. And this is why I teach a lot of energy practices in my programs and with clients and in my Becoming Sovereign Quantum Retreat Center, because if we don't know how to manage our own energy, we are a little bit at the mercy of other energies that are coming at us. And that's how you can get into the disempowered aspect a lot with different aspects of your human design. But when you do energy practices and you learn how to really marshal and harness and then direct your energy, then you'll have a lot more command over it. And one of the things that you can do, and whether you do these energy practices or not, but you can make a decision and you can say, I am only allowing in any insights or possibilities or potentials that are for my highest good. Because there's a lot of different things that are floating around there in the collective unconscious. And there's a lot of things that are floating around in general in different people's minds. And you want to just let in the things that are beneficial for you, right? The things that are in your highest good, the things that are going to make your life better. You don't want to just be allowing in just any old thought, any old belief, any old, thing that somebody's thinking about. Right? So, and this is true with all openness, is that when we get more command of our energy by developing energy practices and then practicing on a regular basis, then we get a lot more command over this. So as we go through the specifics having to do with the gates and the channels and the circuits, again, I want to emphasize for you that you can develop a relationship with any of these energies if they're open in your chart as well. But just because it's open in your chart doesn't mean you don't have it. You do have it, and you have a relationship with it already. And one of the things that you can do is, as we go through this, is you can be thinking about, do I already have a developed relationship with this energy, even though it's not colored in my chart? Okay, so let's go ahead and start with the beginning of the logic circuit. So the gate 63, it's right up here. It's the left brain energy. It's where that logic circuit begins. And in traditional human design, it's known as the gate of doubt. And in quantum human design, it's the gate of curiosity. So you can see by these two energies, doubt and curiosity, how differently you can experience them. I would also say that we could split doubt into two different expressions. So doubt in its disempowered expression would be like, I doubt that. Oh gosh, I'm so much in doubt. I don't really know what to believe. I don't trust anything. God, I can't land anywhere because I'm filled with doubt. Okay, so that's a disempowered expression. A shadow expression would be, I doubt it. Where did you get that? I don't think so. You got to prove it to me, right? You got to prove it to me. So that's how you can use doubt as a way to control or manipulate a situation. And then curiosity, you can see just by the feel of it, right, is much more open, right? Doubt kind of closes things down. It's like that. Whereas curiosity is like, And you can see how curiosity is more in alignment with the inspiration center, right? The divine interface, like how we're connecting with the all that is, right? It's curiosity. And it's helpful, I think, to think about the scientific method, because the scientific method lives in the logic circuit. That's where it is. And all of science, really at its best, begins with curiosity. It's like, oh, look at what's something that's happening in the living world. I'm really curious about that. Let's go study it. I have an idea about how that might happen. Let's test it and see if it does. So it starts with this real curiosity, this kind of delight in the living world, the delight to find out, well, how do things work? Why is it like this, right? And so that's really the energy that is best expressed for us through that gate 63. It really opens up things for us. And as we do that, it really sets the tone for all energies that we have that are in the logic circuit. Here's what the logic circuit looks like. You can see it comes in through the left brain, crosses over in the ajna, and then comes down through the right hand side of the body and up through the central channel. And so any of the gates that you have in the logic circuit will be infused with how you're experiencing that gate 63. So having it be more in curiosity is going to help you stay more open. Now, one thing I want to say about the logic circuit in general and about the gate 63 is that pretty much everybody that I have talked to, there's an occasional outlier here or there, but most people are heavily conditioned into the logic circuit. That gate 63, unfortunately, a lot of times people are conditioned into the doubt phase, right? Because we are living in the legacy of the Enlightenment and the scientific revolution that happened during that time, and Newtonian physics. So even though we've had quantum physics for over 100 years, we're still largely living inside of a cultural norm that is much more Newtonian, which is about how can we see it, can we count it, can we quantify it, can we test it, can we prove it, can we replicate it, right? All of those kind of bases of the scientific method. And so most of us are heavily conditioned into that, even though we may not have a lot of logic in our defined in our human design, our own human design. So you can look at that for yourself. And I had a woman in a program of mine last year who only had, I think it was 3 gates in the whole logic circuit that were lit up in her personal chart. But she shared that she had spent many, many years really learning how to be that kind of analytical person. And she was shocked when she saw that she really didn't have logic lit up in her chart. And I said, well, that is a testimony to how you have been conditioned. And it's a testimony for all of us. So this is something for you to really check out for yourself, is how much have you been conditioned into, programmed into believing that the best way to know what you know is through logic, is through analysis, is through strategy, is through testing, is through that way, that kind of linear thinking, that linear logic. Right? Because I think most of us have. It's not bad, but if it's all that you've got, it means that you're only living out of a small portion of what's possible for you. And that's what else we're going to look at today. The channel, the 63-4, here is known as the channel of logic in traditional human design, or the channel of possibility in quantum human design. And this power of this channel is really the power of questioning. So if you think about this, what curiosity is about, curiosity is all about questioning. So we don't want to close things down. We don't want to try to come up with an answer here. It's really not about an answer, even though the 4 in traditional human design is called answers. It's called possibility in quantum human design. So we want to keep that 63-4 open. We want it to be questioning. We want it to be curious. We don't want it to be doubting and finding answers and testing your answer, right? Do you see how that closes it down? So we really want to open this up. And you can do this whether it's defined in your chart or whether it's open. And one tip that I'll give you is whenever you find yourself falling into doubt, okay, falling into doubt, is you can ask yourself, how can I get curious? How can I get curious? Because doubt is very related to judgment. And judgment tends to close things down. It tends to collapse things in. Whereas curiosity, again, opens things out. And I think that you're gonna find that that's gonna really help you, because doubt can also, especially, I've done readings for people who are like, I live in so much doubt. It's so exhausting and it's so undermining. So just remember, you can always flip that doubt around into curiosity. So the logic circuit was part of collective circuitry. The other part of collective circuitry is the sensing circuit. So this is right-brained energy, comes in over on the right-hand side, the gate 64. And in traditional human design, it's known as confusion. And in quantum human design, it's known as divine transference. So right-brained energy is expansive, it's embodied, it's experiential, it's creative, it has storytelling associated with it. It's very different than that left brain, focal, linear, analytical, strategic. So it's like the other side, right, of us. And so that 64, the beginning of that is really, I love this divine transference, right, because it's really about bringing in those possibilities, those new potentials, those new insights, new ways of telling stories, new ways of understanding who we are, new ways of experiencing our embodiment, new ways of experiencing and experimenting in the world, right? That's really what the sensing circuit is more about. And so here we want to be able to open that up. And you can see in this more traditional human design way, confusion is, again, it's the disempowered expression. Because if we're receiving insights and we're receiving possibilities and they're coming in, but you don't trust it, if you're living out of that left brain logic and then you don't trust it, it's like, where did that come from? I don't even know what that is that just came in. Wow, I had an epiphany, but I'm not sure if it's something that I should really trust. I mean, I've talked to a lot of people who actually have rejected their intuition. This is a form of intuition. They've rejected these insights because they don't know where they're coming from and they don't know if they can trust them, right? Maybe this has been true for you. And so you want to be able to be like, I'm curious about this. Good. Curiosity is a good one. And not to make any determinations too quickly. And to realize that the insights and the possibilities are going to come in with a different flavor. For example, they may come in more in a story format, or they may come in more as images, or more as a felt sense in the body. It's not necessarily going to be more data or something that you can quantify, which you would get more over through that logic circuit, right? So over here, it's going to be more experiential. It's going to be more something that you can feel, right? That your body might be speaking to you. And so I encourage you to really open up to that, because, just like ignoring it and thinking that it's confusion, you're giving away your birthright, really. Sometimes in the more shadow expression, people can try to use confusion as a way to gain power or to gain, some kind of authority in a certain situation. You want to look at what are you doing with the insights that are coming in here? Are you using them, in a way to, again, kind of build yourself up, or to be somebody who is right, feels like they're right, because sometimes that can happen. You want to assert your point of view. You want other people to pay attention, right? But that more awakened expression is, again, it's deeply receptive. It's trusting in spirit, and it's saying, I'm going to be open to what it is the spirit wants to share with me. The sensing circuit comes in through that right brain, crosses over in the ajna, comes down through the left-hand side of the body, and then back up through that central channel. And you'll see that the two different circuits that are collective, they really mirror each other, right? That right brain energy and that left brain energy, they're mirrors of each other. So we need both of them. We want to have both of them in order to be full, complete human beings. And I can tell you, you can develop a relationship with that sensing circuit. I certainly have. I only have one gate in the entire circuit that's defined in my chart. But because I've been interested in embodiment and in energy and in spiritual practice and in experience and life experience and all of these different things, storytelling, been a huge part of my life for many, many years. And so I've developed a relationship with that sensing circuit, even though it's not defined in my chart. So the qualities here really help to make you be more whole, because if you are only working out of that left brain, you're only working out of 30% of your capacity. Your sensing circuit is another 30% of your capacity. And how do you know what you know when you're looking at this right brain energy? Well, it's something that you need to practice with, because it's a divine transference. And like I said a few minutes ago, if you're clear about, I am only open to receiving insights and information and epiphanies and possibilities and potentials that are in my highest good, right? If you command that for yourself, right, you declare it, so that when you're doing your meditation or when you're paying attention to what's coming in, if you're journaling or drawing or being creative in any way, because this is a highly creative energy, then you just want to make sure that you have set your intention about where you're going to be receiving any of those downloads from. And then I think you can be more confident about receiving them and trusting them. So the channel here, the 6447, is known as the channel of abstraction in traditional human design, or divine potential in quantum human design. And it's a lot about timing. It's like, is it the right time? Am I receiving this coming in through timing? Now, it's connected to the emotional solar plexus, because again, we come in here through that right brain, but cross over to the left side of the body, and the emotional solar plexus over here on the left-hand side of the body. And the logic circuit doesn't go through that. So that's not so much about that. That's about questioning. This one is more about timing, because always with that emotional energy, we're looking, is it the right time? Is it the right time for me to be working with whatever it is that's coming, right? Is it the right time? Does it need to be later? Is there something else that needs to happen? So it's good to have a little pause when you have any of these downloads that come in through that right brain circuit, rather than just jumping right into it. Because if you try to force things to happen, or if you jump into things too quickly, a lot of times it's not going to work out. You need to give this time, and for you to be clear, is it right for me? Is it right for me now? Is it right for me later? Does it need to gestate in some way more than it already has? And so on. And then our third major way of knowing is the knowing circuit. So the knowing circuit is the largest of all of the subcircuits. I'll show you a picture of it in a minute. And it begins right here in the gate 61, the gate of mystery, or the gate of wonder. I love that, wonder. And it is such a great name for what we're doing here when we're working with anything that has to do really with the head center, is wonder, awe, inspiration, possibility, potential, right? It's very much like, because if you think about this again as the divine interface, right? It's where our human self, or one of the places where our human self meets our expanded self, or meets the universe, or meets source, or meets our guides or our angels, right? It's the place where we interface with that. There are other parts of the human design chart that does that. Your authority, for example, is another place where you do that. But we're just saying here, and we want to be in this state of awe and openness and possibility, wonder, right? Because what comes in through the knowing circuit, this is individual circuitry. So both the left brain energy and the right brain energy, that's all collective circuitry. The knowing circuit, very different. Individual circuitry, it's here to be different. It's here to bring change. It's mutative. It doesn't fit in. And it's where the evolutionary impulse of humanity runs through the human design chart. So think about this for a moment. If it's where the evolutionary impulse runs and it's here to be different and it's mutative, the things that are going to come in through that knowing circuit are going to be really different. And you might be in the habit of rejecting them because they don't fit in, right? This is a great place for us to open up to so that we can break out of the confining conditioning that we've had around that left brain conditioning, right? That tells us, we need to be able to see it and count it and quantify it and categorize it and test it and all of that, right? The stuff that comes in through the knowing circuit, you can't do any of that with it. It's not, it lives in a different realm. It's highly intuitive, and you can receive complete pictures that come through. You can get a complete download, or you can get more things that are a little more amorphous, like, wow, what was that kind of sense of opening up? And then also in the knowing circuit, there's just this deep sense of knowing. Like, it's not something you learned anywhere. It's not something anybody taught you. It's just you have this deep sense of knowing. And so the knowing circuit really is this kind of deep connection to superconsciousness, and it's the place where it's probably the least well understood in common culture. We kind of understand right brain energy to a degree, right? We understand left brain energy really well because we've all studied it and practiced it for a long time. Right brain energy, creativity, embodiment, that kind of thing, yeah. And increasingly so, because I think culturally we're understanding that we really need more of that. But what's coming in through that knowing circuit, it's really a different animal. You can see here from this image how big the knowing circuit is. It runs through every single center of the human design system except for the will center. It runs through every single one. Opening up to what the 61 can bring you and what this knowing circuit can bring you. You want to check out, are you dismissing it, right? Are you rejecting it? Again, that's the kind of disempowered expression of it. Or are you using your inner knowing to manipulate or control other people? Got to watch out for that. Sometimes we do that. Sometimes we do it unconsciously. And then the awakened is really to be in that state of wonder. We're not trying to use what we receive against anybody or to try to gain any power or even to try to feel more safe. And we're also honoring of it. So we receive it, we honor it, and we discern what is coming in that's useful to us. How can we do that? So we want to let go of the conditioning that we have that would tell us that this kind of thing isn't really valuable and we shouldn't really pay any attention to it. And it could even be, suspicious and superstitious, right? Which is the way that, unfortunately, with the scientific revolution, really rejected intuition and rejected creativity in a different way, but really rejected intuition. And, it got locked up a lot with rejecting people who were healers and herbalists and midwives and on and on. So we want to reclaim this part of ourselves because we have deep inner knowing. The sensing circuit is helping us to have more embodied knowing, more body wisdom. And this is pure intuition, but it strikes pretty much every part of us. So we are really benefit when we're willing to open up to what it is that's coming in through that knowing circuit. Now the channel here, that's 6124, it's known as the channel of awareness in traditional human design or the channel of perspective in quantum human design. And it's really kind of this ability to see the big picture. To step out of the smallness of our lives. And I do mean that in multiple ways, like the smallness, like how we keep ourselves small in our attempt to stay safe, right? So we might really try to keep ourselves small, but also the just natural smallness of our human selves in relation to the universe, right? To what it is that we can tap into when we open up that knowing circuit, and all of a sudden we step out of our smaller perspective of ordinary reality and of the you know who is you, and you open up to this bigger sense of possibility, and you can and have new understandings, and you can start to understand other people better. You can understand why things work the way that they do. And, have, it's kind of like that climbing up to the top of the tallest tree so you can see the whole forest and you can see the whole landscape. It's kind of like that, right? It's like, so just imagine this channel here is like at the very top of the tree. You've climbed all the way up to the top of the tree and you're looking around and you're in a state of wonder and you're like, wow, look at this big picture. So as we look at these different ways of knowing, right? Logic likes to question, and it's best when it questions and doesn't shut down to try to find answers right away. And with sensing, it's like, how does it feel? How do we creatively interact with it? How do we understand it through a felt sense and through experience and through our body? And then the knowing circuit is like, wow, I'm plugged into super consciousness, and as I do that, I can see a much bigger perspective. I don't have to be stuck in the smallness of my world. I can tap into a much bigger horizon of possibility. I can open up to these insights. And the thing is all three of these ways of knowing, they're all valid. They're all true. They're all real. And we become more and more whole the more that we can actually tap into all of them. So as I've said, we are really acculturated, right? We've been programmed just to do it through that one way of knowing, right? Which is that logic. But when we can be more creative as well, when we can be more embodied, and when we can experiment more, we do much better. And when we can be open to the new, when we can be willing to change, when we can be open to really out of the box, leading edge, new possibilities, images that come in, new ways of seeing things that come in that kind of throw everything into a different perspective, right? When we can have all of those working for us, we are much more empowered beings. These even seem like superpowers at times, right? When you really turn on that sensing circuit and you turn on that knowing circuit and you have ways of knowing, ways of understanding how to engage with life that are different than the ones that common culture teaches us, it's like you're living in a different dimension. This is one of the ways that we can embrace ourselves as multidimensional beings, because we really are. And this is one of the things that human design can help us really unleash ourselves from ways that we've confined ourselves into understandings that are just partial. I don't even want to say they're inaccurate. It's just that they're partial. So my recommendation for you is that you get your human design chart and that you go and you check out what you have colored in these three different circuits. Now, I did create a new gift for you. It's a gift about intuition and creativity in your human design chart. And I will put the link for it down in the description below. And it will lead you through some exercises that will help you to take a look at what do you have defined in your chart? What do you not have defined in your chart? And how you can come to understand both the definition, what's actually there and what your relationship is to it. Are you more expressing the disempowered or the shadow or the awakened expression of it? And your openness, because it could be that there are aspects of your openness that you've also developed a relationship with. Like I feel like I've really developed a relationship with my right-brained energy, even though it's not defined in my chart. So I encourage you to check that out so that you can get your own perspective. You know, I always try to help you to empower yourself around your human design. It's true, I am an expert on human design, but you're the expert on you. So I like to give you exercises that you can do so that you can feel more empowered about understanding your own human design. So go ahead and get that gift for you, and I would love to hear about how it lands for you. Okay, that's our video for today. Many blessings, much love. Bye for now.